Time. How are you?
I am doing excellent. Thank you very much for having me.
Excellent. No, you're absolutely more than welcome. So let's get started. I've done a little bit of background and the backstory, which is quite nice that we're starting this, that life for you actually started in the Middle East. Because if I'm right in thinking you were born in Iraq.
That is correct. Yeah, up until I was 16 years old, and that's when I moved to the US.
And I think from what I've read, that sort of experience has really shaped you, the relationship that you have with your father, living through troubled times in Iraq and during a war. Do you want to sort of elaborate a little bit on that? Because from what I've read, that's what shaped you as a person in the early years.
Yeah, the one thing that I love about the Western world is that you could actually, well, not just the Western world, really, anywhere else that's outside of some parts of Asia, the Middle East, especially, Iraq and that part of the world. But you could actually plan for the future. You could think about in 5 years, and 10 years, and 20 years, I can do this. Where I lived in Iraq, that was just not a possibility. That wasn't something that people thought about, especially after the war in 2003. The thing that we were always wondering about is, will a rocket fall into my living room this afternoon? If I go to the grocery store, will I come back? My brother was in his mid 20s. He was always going out and partying and stuff like that. Not necessarily partying, but just going out with friends. And every time he went out, I know my mom and my dad would like have a heart attack and just like hold their breath until he got home. There wasn't cell phones, there wasn't any of that, so you couldn't just connect with someone anytime you wanted. And he would stay out late, and they would literally like I would see the fear in their eyes until the minute he walked in. And so this was pretty much the everyday life. Is power going to be on today for 3 hours instead of 4 hours, or is it going to be on for 5 hours instead of 6 hours? Like, that's the thing that you were thinking about. Can I go to the gas station and actually get gas instead of waiting 2, 3 days in line to finally get gas? And so sometimes we take for granted here the everyday stuff that we don't realize that other parts of the world, like, that's the things that they think about every day. We're so blessed to be able to plan for the future, to be able to take care of our families, take care of our loved ones, and also take care of other people that we care about.
And what that you talked about, your father had a business in Iraq. Was that right? He started that. Is that where you got your entrepreneurial bug from? I guess you could say.
Yeah, believe it or not, my father he owned the second largest clothing factory in Iraq in the late 70s, 80s, and early 90s, up until the Gulf War in 91. And that's when I tell the story, the Iraqi dinar, one dinar used to equal $3. Overnight, $1 went to 1,200 dinars. So my father went from a multimillionaire to absolutely broke, literally overnight, And then from
Wow.
there, his businesses just, collapsed. And yeah, but I always looked up to him. He was always a role model for me. He was a mover, he was a shaker. He was very known in the community. People respected him. And I always wanted to grow up to be like him.
So you moved to the US and then you went to university, and that wasn't really the path of well, it wasn't my path either, by the way. But that was something that you were like, no, I'm going to change things. So you went, and I think there's a little bit of a story there as well, isn't there?
Yeah, well, my sister was actually a lawyer in Iraq, and my mom was very proud of that. Everywhere she went around, she talked about that. And because I was actually pretty good in school. Like, I wasn't the kid that was, skipping classes or whatever. I was always really good in school. I always did my homework. I would literally get home, not leave the room until I did my homework. So I was a pretty actually good student. And then she sold me on the idea, especially after we came to America. She sold me on the idea that if I want to be successful in life, look at your father. Being an entrepreneur is risky. You could literally go from a multimillionaire to nobody overnight. What's more safe, the safe route, is going to school, getting a degree. And for her, it was like, look at your sister. She's a lawyer. What if you became a doctor? And so for a while there, she sold me on the idea that I should become a doctor. Started going to school, I changed my major like 6 times. I was trying to get into biology and biochemistry. And after 6 months, 7 months of taking classes, I just realized it just wasn't for me. I still remember I'd be sitting in the library trying to focus, and literally a fly would go by like a mile away, and I would like turn around. And I had a label. I used to call myself, I am a procrastinator and I cannot focus. Those were the two things that I believed deep down. but it wasn't that. I was just uninspired.
Mums mean well. I mean, that's the thing. So deep down, she meant well, and after everything that you'd gone through, I can understand. So, what was I mean, was there a defining moment for you where you're like, no, enough, this is what I want to go in for myself? Or was it like a number of different things? Where, if someone's listening to this, they might be going, yeah, I'm stuck in university. This is not what I want to be doing. Or, what was your defining moment to change that?
So for about the first 15 years of my life, we looked wealthy on the outside, but we were very cash poor because my father had accumulated properties and stuff like that while he had a business, but we didn't have a cash flowing business. And so after we came to America, completely broke, didn't have anything, started working at McDonald's, my first job. And then about 4 years in, my father was finally able to liquidate some properties back home and bring some money to America. So as a family, we bought a restaurant, a pizzeria, and that's the first time in my life at 20 years old, I was working 80 hours a week, 7 days, no days off. We would open the store at 10 a.m., we would close at 9 a.m., so I was working 12 hours every single day. And not that I liked it, but I saw that if I put in effort, I could actually reap the reward because I could see that the harder I worked, the better the business became, the better customers, the more we could serve customers. And I had a good thing happening with like customers. I had my ways to like satisfy customers, and I had a good way to talk to people. And I had always before that worked in restaurants. I had two jobs at McDonald's, and then I worked at a Greek restaurant for like 3 years. And then from there, I just realized that, I could probably do this on my own. I was 22 at the time. And I was like, all right, I could probably branch out. My brother and I wanted to work together and create a franchise, but I was trying to go 150 miles an hour. He was trying to go 5 miles an hour. And we just would butt heads all the time. So I finally said, okay, I know this business thing. I like it. I enjoy it. I like the hard work. I finally came to my mom and said, Mom, I love you, but I'm dropping out. Can't do it
The
anymore.
doctor, it's not going to be, it's
Yeah,
not going to be a doctor.
it's just not for me, and that's when I convinced my dad to go into business for myself. So,
And that was the beginning of kind of where we're at now. And if we kind of like bring up to speed for those that don't know how they don't know, because there's 2.8 million people following you on Instagram, which is amazing. Congratulations on building that platform. You've got a YouTube following of over 100,000. You're active on all the platforms. So if we get into the sort of the business, the part, I guess one of my questions is, how did you get to 2.8 million followers on Instagram? What was your strategy there? And I guess, what was it that you were selling, or what is it that you're selling to get to that point?
yeah, it was just it's I was gonna say it was an overnight success, but it was nothing near that. I got on social media in 2016, late 16, late 17, and
Oh,
for
wow.
3 years, 3.5 years, there was nothing. There was literally no traction. In fact, 2021. January 2021, we had 30,000 followers on Instagram. January 2022, we had 1.3 million followers on Instagram.
Wow.
And so sometimes what happens is you put in work, it seems like it's little amounts of work, and you're just busting your ass doing everything you can, and it just seems like you're not getting anywhere, But what often a lot of times people miss is that to master anything, you need repetition and you need time. It can't, like, Cristiano Ronaldo isn't Cristiano Ronaldo because he picked up a ball at 6 years old and then 6 months later he said, nope, that's not for me. And then, he kept on playing and playing and practicing. And if you watch his games 10 years ago, he wasn't who he is today. And 20 years ago, he wasn't who he is today, right? And so, but then for a long time, he was nobody. And then all of a sudden, he blew up. But that's because all the work they had done prior to that. And so when people talk about overnight success is when you found out about that person. That person was a nobody, and then they became a somebody, and then they just blew up. And it's like, where did this guy even came from? And that's something that I try to do every time I get together with an entrepreneur friend. It's like we want to share what's going great in our businesses, but I'm always very curious about what's going wrong in your business, what's not working in your business, because we always are so proud about bragging about the good things, and we don't talk about the bad things. But it's the bad things that made you who you are. It's my restaurant burning down and me having no insurance in 2015 losing $500,000, coming out of it with 115K in debt, going to jail 6 months later because of a DUI, and being depressed for 6 months after that was why this all happened, you know? And then I busted my ass for the following 5 years. And that's where all this happened. Although it seemed like it happened overnight, but there was like a decade of work and trial and errors that led to all that stuff, you know?
How do you get people to be honest about that? Because I feel, social media is quite guilty, or people are very guilty of putting on all the good stuff. It's always about the good stuff, or not talking about what's going wrong. How do you change people's mindsets? Because I know mindsets is a big thing that you discuss in university that you have, which we'll get onto in just a minute. So I'm curious about that mindset and maybe some of the others that you come across.
I think what needs to happen is, and it's not easy, it's not an easy thing. What we need to start doing is we need to start finding happiness within oneself. And once you tap into that, that's where you stop worrying about everyone else. Because at the end of the day, like the reason why we start business, the reason why we go to school, the reason why we use filters on Instagram, the reason why we get married, the reason why we have girlfriends and boyfriends and whatever, or friends or whatever it is, and we bear kids. The reason why, women go through 9 months I mean, I don't even, that's the one thing that I'm like, I'm glad that I'm not a woman, right? And go through all that and have a child. The end result of all this stuff, the reason why we take pain because of pleasure, because of happiness, because of joy. That's the main core of everything that we do. The reason why we do everything, because we want to be happy, because we want to feel joy, right? It's not the money. It's not the business. It's not the child. It's not the boyfriend, girlfriend. It's not the sex. It's not this. It's the happiness. It's the joy that we feel, right? And so the minute that we make the shift from I need all these things to happen for me to feel happy to I can find happiness within myself. I can be happy in the most miserable time of my life. My girlfriend could have dumped me last night and I can wake up this morning and feel absolute bliss, right? And that all comes from within, from inside, right? So the minute that a human can make that shift, they will stop worrying about what other people think of them. And when they stop worrying about what people think of them, then they will be okay with sharing anything and everything. Because the thing that we're always thinking about is, well, what if this person judges me? They're going to judge me on a moment that I've had in my life that maybe I didn't perform at my best or whatever. And then now they're really not going to see how awesome I am. And if they don't see how awesome I am, then I'm not going to feel good about myself.
What are some strategies that have worked for you to develop that level of happiness or joy within you? Because it took me till I was 40 to get to the point where the other people's opinions and feeling happy being on my own and enjoying spending time and knowing that it's all coming from me. So I was late, I think, but at least I got there. What are some of the things that worked for you?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's never late, right? It's better to get there at 40. And by the way, I didn't even know you were 40. I thought you were in your early 30s. You really can't tell that you're 40. So whatever you're doing, please share those secrets, right?
That'll be my next business.
Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. But it's the fact that you got there, right? And there's people that get up until their 80s and they die and they never get there, right?
Yeah, it's so true.
And so I think sometimes what needs to happen is there needs to be, like I follow Tony Robbins a lot, and he talks about how in order for you to create lasting change in your life, you need leverage, right? You can become aware and create that leverage in your life, or that leverage will happen in your life. And for me, 5 months ago, it was a seizure. It manifested in a seizure. Never in my life have I ever experienced anything like that. Out of nowhere, I fell down at a supermarket, and I had a seizure right in front of my wife's eyes. And woke up in a hospital with a bunch of tubes in my arms, and then they told me that I just had a seizure. And so for the following few weeks and months, I went into this level of anxiety and panic attacks I had never experienced in my life. I've launched 9 businesses, 7 of which failed. I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. Nothing gave me anxiety as much as that not knowing what's going on, not knowing, do I have a tumor? Am I going to die in 6 months? I haven't had kids yet. I just started building my business, like all these crazy thoughts. And so where it all stems from, where unhappiness stems from, is a single thought, right? It all comes from our mind. And so in order for you to find happiness within, you need to learn how to not control your thoughts. You'll never be able to do that because we're in this podcast and either I or you are probably thinking about, oh shit, I forgot to, turn off the whatever. And oh my God, this person like that. And, her internet, whatever, right? Just all these crazy thoughts that are going on that just come through at random times. And you can't stop their flow. But what you can do is you can master them and learn how to, which ones you pick and go in the rabbit hole with, and which ones you just nip in the butt and say, nope, not this one, right? And there are some exercises, if you want, I can go into that I've used over the last 5 months from studying Tony Robbins, from, finding a performance coach, from just getting within myself and soul searching, that I've been able to learn to find happiness within. And I don't need, I've always wanted the Rolls Royce. And once I got to be able to afford it, I'm like, am I buying it for me? Am I buying it for others? Is that really the goal in life? Is that really what I'm going to is that my legacy? Do I really want that to make me happy, or can I be happy today with who I am,
And what's the answer to that?
I'll probably get it one day. I'll get it one day, but today I don't need it. We just got a car earlier this year, and it's a lease. So 3 years from now, we'll see. Yeah.
Nice. I want to touch a little bit more on that because you mentioned Tony Robbins, which was where the start of my personal development journey. I think someone gave me this is again showing my age, but someone gave me some tapes or cassettes, and I listened to them, and I was like, wow, who is this guy?
Yeah.
And that was where it was for me. And I've since, done UPW, I've done Date with Destiny, and many of the personal development mentors that I've worked with and coaches have changed the way that I am as a person for the better and changed my business for the better. That's something that I know you do, and we have mutual friends. Blake, who's also been in the podcast, met you at was it Sam Ovens?
Sam Ovens. Yeah, Sam Ovens Mastermind. Yeah.
Yeah, which he visits the US a couple of times a year. So tell me about this. I mean, it seems like a no-brainer question, like why are mentors so important? But I know that you've significantly invested this year because we chatted about it just before we came on live.
Yeah.
Why, and what is the impact has on you?
Well, see, this is when I analyzed the reason why my business fell, my restaurant business. So I bought a restaurant right after the family restaurant in 2013, 2015. April 28th, 2015, I got a call 5 minutes after I had left saying that the kitchen is on fire. By the time I got there, our kitchen was absolutely destroyed. I had stopped paying insurance 4 months prior to that. My landlord sued me and kicked me out. And so when I looked back, a few months later to kind of analyze the situation and try to learn from it, because for 3-4 months I was just beating myself, and then it was time to move on, but I needed to learn. And that's, I think, what happens oftentimes is we fail, but we don't learn. We just move on or try to move on. When I analyzed that situation, I was a 23-year-old kid with a big ego, and I knew it all. No one could tell me what to do. I had all the answers. I knew exactly what to do in every single situation. At 23, I don't care who you are, you don't know shit. Your brain doesn't finish developing until 25, 26, right? And so biologically, it's not possible. So you thinking that you know it all is when, if you think that you know it all, that's when you should know and become aware that there's a ton of things you don't know, right? And so the next journey, you would think I would have learned. I started selling on Amazon, and I tried to do it on my own again. I borrowed $7,000 and I lost it on a few products. Again, why? Because I thought I knew it all. And then I was like, all right, something is wrong here. There's something in this equation that obviously is not working. It's working for other people. It's not working for me. I bought a course, and then I learned, and then I tweaked, and then I found success. I bought another course, and I learned and tweaked and found more success. And then I realized that regardless what it is I'm trying to accomplish in life, someone else has done it before me. And someone else has gone to a point where it's like, look, yes, I have success, but I'm passionate about helping other people, because to me, It was like, if you're so successful, why are you trying to sell me why are you like sharing your secret with me? It just didn't make sense. But that's where people will fail. Because when you think that way, you are in a scarce mindset. And in
Mm.
order for you to succeed in life, you need to learn how to go into an abundant mindset. Because an abundant mindset doesn't think, I'm creating my own competition. Abundant mindset says, I've learned, I've accomplished, I want to help someone else, right? And when you make that shift, like people talk about, oh, this person is a competition, this person is this. I'm like, dude, there's 7.5 billion humans on planet Earth. If you believe that there is competition, you're delusional. You're just crazy, right? Elon Musk patented how to create electric cars and make the patent open. If he believed that competition existed, he wouldn't do that. He literally revolutionized an industry that's been the same for I don't know how many hundreds of years, right? And then he made it open. Why? Because he believes in something way bigger than competition. He believes in making humankind just a better civilization, right? And so he believes in something that's bigger than himself because he has an abundant mindset, right? If he had a scarce mindset, the world probably wouldn't be what it is today or what it's going to be in 10 or 20 years.
So let's kind of talk about, so we talked about mindset being something that you discuss in the university. You are all about disrupting the educational system about what you're doing. Is that correct in saying that that's the goal? And I think even bigger than that, your number one reach is to impact 1 million lives. Is that right?
So it's 1 million lives at a time. When we first created the goal, it was we want to impact 1 million lives. And then I woke up one day and I'm like, dude, there's 7.5 billion humans on planet Earth. What do we do when we get to 1 million? I don't want to stop there. So
Yeah.
it's we just literally added dot, dot, dot at a time.
Okay, I
Yeah.
like it. So talk to me a little bit about the university and disrupting the educational system.
Yeah. So, you know, humans around the world, everyone, doesn't matter where you live, always want a better life. Always want to live a better life. Want freedom, want to spend more time with their kids, want anything, just whatever it is. And in order for you to have a better life, you need to improve your level of skills. But first, it starts with awareness. You need to even have an awareness of that there are other skills that I can acquire that will improve my level of life or how I live life. When I lived in Iraq and when we had only 3 TV channels and no internet, I wasn't aware. There was no level of awareness. I remember I went to Jordan, which is a neighboring country to Iraq, for literally 2 days, and I realized that there are paved streets and that streets could actually look clean and that there's actually lines in the middle, that people have like multiple lanes they drive in and people don't like go on top of each other. And so now I became aware that this thing exists. And although we were like, there was just a border between us, it was like a 2-hour car drive, right? So now I was aware that this thing existed. So my standard increased, right? What we're trying to do is we're trying to create awareness of missed opportunities because until now, traditional education has had a monopoly on those skill sets. You
Yeah.
need to go to a 4-year university, get a bachelor's degree, spend about $10,000 to $50,000 per year, accumulate a bunch of debt, so that hopefully one day you can graduate and hopefully someone can hire you and maybe give you a job that pays $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. So that 40 years later, you can hopefully hope that there will be enough money for you to retire at 65 and live your golden years. It's more like just a death sentence while you're alive, right?
Yeah.
And so we wanted to collapse all that time and say, fuck that. I want to teach you a skill that you can turn into income within 90 days or less so that you could do whatever the hell you want with your life, right?
Mm.
Because I didn't do it through traditional university.
Yeah.
Yes, we need doctors. Yes, we need lawyers. But let's face it, not every human is going to become a doctor or a lawyer. I was pretty smart in school, and I was like, screw this. This is not for me, right? We'll always have the people that go to school and spend 65 years to becoming doctors or lawyers or whatever. But if you're those that don't want to do all that work and don't want to spend the next 20 years studying and want to instead get a degree, but a skill that you could literally take and do whatever you want with your life, then BJK University is the place. Right now, we're focused on just Amazon because I started as an Amazon seller, so it was easy for me to create a program about it. But the future of BJK University is providing all kinds of different skills for people. These could be things in the trading industry and real estate, crypto, just all kinds of different skills that people can take and turn into income within 90 days or less.
That's incredible. And I do have to sort of labor a little bit onto that point that you said about, university. I remember I also didn't go to university because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And I couldn't see the logic in going to
Sure.
study something for 4 years that when I spoke to everyone around me, no one was actually doing what they studied at school. Like it's like
Right.
they went to university, but that's like take my parents for example. They met at catering college. My dad went on to be a police officer. My mum was a HR director. Like neither of them are ended up in what they were doing. And I think so many people go, oh well, I'm just going to go to university because everyone else is. And
Yeah.
rather than going, do you know what? I'm going to find out about myself. I'm going to travel. I'm going to experience this or try and make some money or, become an Amazon seller and seeing what opportunities are out there. I couldn't agree more. And I think so often even the school system and what they're still teaching is just not what we need now. It frustrates me that I wish I'd known about, again, it's never too late, but I wish I'd known about personal development earlier than I
Yeah.
did. Why isn't that taught in schools? Why do we have to wait till one day someone hands us some cassette tapes, when it's like you're having a bad moment and it all goes to the next level. So I'm completely on this. And I don't know what the answer to this is to how to change it before. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like how can you reach people younger?
I think by being an example, by just being out there, by when I have been attending Tony Robbins events the last couple months, I've been seeing some of the people in our program are bringing in their kids, So I
Yeah.
think it's if you create a level of awareness for the older generation, then they will get impacted and influenced, and then they can influence the younger generation. So for
Mm.
me, I'm 32 right now. We're planning on having children here soon. And so my job would be to influence them. And then obviously they will make their own decisions. I'm not going to make decisions for them, but influence them and provide them those opportunities and give them that level of awareness, right? So I think our job is, because at the end of the day, it's all about, like, you reach a certain level of financial freedom where it's like, it's not about me anymore. It's not about just a fancier car, fancier house, nicer dinners or whatever. It's about what's the footprint that I'm going to leave in this world. 60, 70 years from now when I'm gone, what are people going to remember me? Because when Warren Buffett or Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk are dead, no one's going to say they had tens of billions of dollars. They're going to talk about the accomplishments they had. Until today, I don't even know if Thomas Edison was a rich man or a poor man. I don't know, and neither do I give a shit, right? But what I remember him by is his innovations, right? I don't remember how much money he had or didn't have, So it's really important that we make it about other people. And then for the older generation, it's about creating awareness for them first. And
Mm-hmm.
then they could go and create awareness for the younger generation.
Yeah, great tip. I think at UPW, when I went, maybe about 8 years ago, there was a couple of kids at the Tony Robbins, but I think now more and more it's starting to change.
Oh, yeah.
The next generation are bringing their kids along because they want them to see something a little bit different.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that leading by example, and I'm touching into sort of personal branding, being visible, being someone that someone looks at. And I was really excited to talk about your personal brand in a number of ways. One, you have a really distinctive personal brand. The mustache has nothing to do with the fact that it's Movember. This is your signature look.
Yeah,
How
it
did
is.
it come about, by the way?
It came out of depression, to be honest with you.
Okay.
So after my restaurant burned down, I went into depression and I started drinking heavily. I got a DUI, drinking under the influence. I went to jail overnight. I didn't spend a whole time in jail, but for the following 4, 5, 6 months, I started growing a beard, and my beard was literally like down to here. And then as I was starting to come out of that phase, and I started getting into online, the whole online world, and learning about this thing, and I finally started seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I decided to shave my beard. As I was shaving my beard, I was like, what is that? I've never seen that before. I now started, and as I was growing up, when I was little, my sister and mom used to watch Egyptian soap operas because
Yes,
Egypt, yeah,
they're still
Egypt has
going on
like a,
here. We still
right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I know you know in Dubai, and there's a culture in Egypt specifically. They have these big mustaches, like huge. I
Yeah.
mean, bigger than mine, way bigger than mine. And when I was little watching that, I was always like, "That's a cool mustache. I wish I would, and I can grow one in the future." And so when I was shaving my beard, I saw that, and I'm like, "Ooh, I like that. I'm gonna keep it." And like in the beginning, it was all weird and was like tiny and stuff like that. Um, and then I just left it. And then, my girlfriend, who's now my wife, hated it at first. My friends started making fun of me. My parents were like, "What the hell is this?" And I just kept it. I just kept it and kept it and kept it until it became a thing. Especially when BJK University was launched, people started recognizing me by the mustache. And earlier this year, late last year actually, we were redoing our branding and our logo, and we integrated, because our university is BJK University, and it stands for Bashar Jamil Katu, Bashar J Katu. And so the J at the bottom, it's like that, and we just added a little thing on the other side, and
Yeah.
now the logo has a mustache. So now I'm stuck with it. Yeah.
Until you change your logo. But I think more on that sort of, that's one key piece that's quite distinct in terms of your personal brand. People spot you, they see you, your social media is consistent. I think the other piece that I would like to draw attention to, and you've been so honest in this conversation, but I think that that's also just part and parcel of who you are. You
Mm.
talk about the fact that you've had challenges, you talk about the depression, you talk about, incidents that have happened that are part of you that other people wouldn't. How does that come across? Because I think it's really important to be you. That is your personal brand. Other
Yeah.
people don't. I guess for people listening, how has that impacted you being so honest with your business growth or with your sort of your visibility and credibility?
When I first started to like get into online education after I had made it as an Amazon seller, I started watching everyone, and it was always about the Lamborghinis and the travel and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, I guess this is what I still remember. I watched a Ty Lopez video, and he said, there
Mm.
was, I guess he had done a study or something, and the Lamborghini attracts, like, I don't know, more. He had literally done a study, and like it was all scientific and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, I don't like the Lamborghini, the car, but I guess I need a fancy car. So what I did is I went and bought a Bentley. And my plan was I'm going to put that Bentley in all of my ads, because I started watching and I started taking some courses of these like top gurus in my space. And I'm like, dude, this person does not know what they're talking about. Like, they have a big brand, but their course is shit. They really don't care about people, And I was like, I know what I'm doing. I care about people, but I guess I need to do this in order for me to stand out. And I still remember I shot my first ad, which never made it because I looked like an asshole. I was watching the ad and I'm like, that's not me. Like, I was talking in a way where I was like, who the hell is this guy? And then I ended up never driving the car. I ended up, selling it for like $30,000 or $40,000 loss. And I just started like doing videos on my phone. And I still remember one of the very first videos, it was attacking the gurus. It was like one of the very first, like right now everyone is like, oh, I'm not a guru, blah, blah, blah. But I had one of the first ads in 2018, 2019, attacking the gurus, talking about like, you're not going to see a jet, you're not going to see this, you're not going to see that, because that's not who I am. And then we recently actually did a survey to all of our students, trying to see why they enrolled in our program, like just to
Yeah.
see like, okay, what did we do right? How can I do more of it? And we were thinking it was this ad, it was this thing, it was that thing. 87% of people said Bashar seemed authentic, he seemed genuine, and he seemed like he's down to earth and someone I can actually hang out and have a beer with. And I was like, that's very interesting, you know?
And
And
that's your
so
personal brand.
that's me. That's who I
Yeah.
am. Like
Yeah.
right now, this is who I am. And actually,
Mm-mm-mm.
my team literally loves when I do these podcasts, because they're like, dude, this is like the most raw you can ever be. And they take those and they chop them up and do all kinds of stuff with them. But what I realized is that we're always trying to become someone we're not. And this is why a lot of people either get burnt out or their things flop. And then they start calling the thing a scam, or it doesn't work, or whatever. But that's because you're pretending to be someone you're not. And when you do that, you're just going to get to a point where everyone has conscience. Everyone has a point where it's like, I'm only willing to exchange my fakeness for so much. I'm going to get to a point where I'm going to burn out. Like, this is who I am. I could be this all my life because I don't need to change. When I went to wearing all black about a year ago, it was because my top core value is KISS, keeping it simple, stupid. And I would sometimes come on video or whatever, and it's like, oh shit, I wore this shirt in this last video, let me go change or whatever. And then I went to completely black. Like, literally right now, my closet has 4 shirts that are all the same, 4 jeans that are all the same, 3 different shoes, all black. Everything I wear is black, and it's simple, it's clean. People know me for that as well. And that's who I am. I'm not pretending to be that. It's not like I'm on video wearing black and then I'm out there wearing orange, That's not who I am, So I think if you just default to who you truly are, regardless who that is. You could be weird, you could be awkward, you could be autistic, you could be whatever. It doesn't matter. Just default to that. You will probably repel a lot of people, but that's okay. But you will also attract a whole bunch of people, which will become your super fans, and that's exactly what you want to do.
That piece that you mentioned about the clothing and the 4 pieces, was that not? I'm sure I saw that on Sam Ovens. He also does that as well, where he's like, I have the same grey t-shirts and the same jeans.
Yeah, I was inspired by him, and then mostly, my God, what's his name? Steve Jobs as well. I saw him, I used to see him always wearing a black turtleneck and jeans,
Yeah.
And so I was very influenced by them too, yes.
Yeah, so when I talk about, from a personal branding perspective, you can either have a signature style or a uniform. And effectively what you're going for is more the uniform in the sense of, here, there's 4 things, these is my black, this is my signature look, but it's consistent. I just wanted to circle back out of curiosity. You mentioned your team. How many do you have in your team?
So right now we're about 65 people.
Oh, wow. Okay. And that is all taking part on everything from, I guess, your social media content, because that is a huge part of your operation in terms of getting people visible and what have you, to dealing with the back end of sort of university. What are some of the roles that maybe people wouldn't think about? Because I was like, wow, 65 is quite a lot.
Yeah, so we have a marketing team of about 7 people right now, 7, 8 people.
Yeah.
We have a sales team. We're heavy on sales because we do one-on-one like consulting, like strategy session. When someone comes in, it's not a sales page. It's a one-on-one strategy session. So we're heavy on sales. We have about 30 salespeople. And then we have our coaches inside of our program that work with our students and that are also continuously improving and upgrading the program. And then we're just in the process of building our finance department and our IT and admin department. There's about almost 10 people there. And so those are kind of the major functions: sales, marketing, operations, and admin and finance.
So if I can circle back to where we started and the sort of the entrepreneurship piece, and what is, Mum wanted you to be a doctor, and Dad, I think, was a little bit, I think from one of the stories I'd read, was maybe a little bit disappointed in where everything kind of went. What do they say now? Do they understand the business that you're in, and what are their thoughts?
And now going back to where my mom was, our parents just want to see us happy. That's their thing. And they will try to impose things on you, but with the best intentions, because that's all they know, right?
Yeah.
The reason why my mom wanted me to become a doctor wasn't because, part it's significance, what Tony Robbins talks about, human needs, right? One of them is significance. She wanted to feel significant. But at the end of the day, it was also love, because she wanted to make sure that, because she loves me, she wanted to make sure that I'm protected and taken care of. To her, that's all she knew. Doctor means success, right? Entrepreneur means risky, because her husband was an entrepreneur, very successful, and bam, lost it all, right? And so for the longest time, up until about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, she was like, I know one day, I know you'll go back to school. I know one day you'll become a doctor, I was literally almost 30 years old. I was like 5-6 years into my entrepreneurship journey, and she still believed that I was going to go to school. But today, they don't understand what I do. They see me on social media. Their English is broken. It's okay. They get by. They watch every single video. They like every single video. They comment sometimes. And they don't understand exactly what I do. But, they feel very proud. But the thing that they are very proud of is in our culture. So I'm Chaldean. We're like 2% of Catholics in Iraq. We're the only Catholics of Iraq. We're called Chaldeans. Yeah. And so in San Diego, we have a big Chaldean community. A lot of not a lot, many of the Chaldean kids in our community are now our students in BJK University. So either when their spouses or their moms or they see my parents, they go up to them and they say, I just want to introduce myself. Probably don't know who I am, but I'm one of Bashar's students, and he's been helping me out so much, and or like I've made this much or whatever. And my parents are like more proud of that than anything else. Obviously they're proud of me because I'm doing great financially in life, but they're more proud of the fact that I'm actually helping people, especially my community. So.
Yeah, love that. And it made me smile when you said, your parents like and comment. I think the first two people that like and comment my stories, my posts, everything is my mom and my dad. I think they must they must have notifications on because they're always so
Yeah.
lovely, and I'm always so grateful for the support. I just want to say thank you so much for your time. How can people find you? Maybe just share a little bit of the details. I know you've mentioned the university, social media. Maybe just share those for a reminder for everyone.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're looking for daily inspiration or want to learn more about what I do or anything really, I would just say go to Instagram, search Bashar JK2. That's BASHARJKATOU. There's going to be probably a dozen. Unfortunately, there's a bunch of fake accounts trying to scam people. It's the only one with a 2.8 million followers. By the time you're watching, it might be 3 or 4 or 5 or 10. I don't know. But follow that page, and and if you want to connect, reach out, and yeah.
Awesome.
All
It
right.
was an absolute pleasure to have you here today, sharing your story and inspiring others. Thank you so much, and have a great day.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.